And I will spotlight Mitali. Mitali, I've just given you screen share as well. So if you've got any slides or anything, you should now be able to share them.
Thank you. Morning, everybody. And it's lovely to see so many new faces. And nice to see you, Jane. I always thought you were like a phantom of Zebra admin. Yeah, I know you exist, but I've never ever seen you. So hello, you exist. Thank you for coming.
I do exist. I hope I don't disappoint.
I was convinced Sam was just lying to me. It's like she had like, you know when you get kids with like an imaginary friend. So she's got an imaginary business partner.
I've been in the dark. I've been in a box in the dark for weeks. It's lovely to have some light.
So yeah, thank you everybody for coming. Okay, I'm going to share my screen and you're going to have to tell me whether you can see my screen. Can you guys see this?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yes, that's perfect.
Let me go to slideshow from the beginning. Oh, look at this. I can actually do this. Literally a couple of weeks ago, I couldn't do this. So I'm quite proud of myself. Right, guys. So this is my presentation on how you can write your book in 3 steps. So I've got 20 minutes, I believe. Oh, hang on. Here we go. There we go. Yeah. I've got 20 minutes. Is that right, Mark?
Yes, you have. That's fine. And then we'll have about 10 minutes or so for questions afterwards.
Okay. So in the next 20 minutes, you're going to learn how to never get writer's block or get lost inside your book. This is a big one. I've met so many people who started a book several years ago. I've even met people who've got written like 30, 40,000 words. That's a flipping book. And yet it's not a book, because it's all over the place. So I'm going to show you how to never get writer's block and also how to never get lost inside your book. You're also going to learn how to make your book feel professional and not homemade. This is the big one. There's a reason why people sniff at people who just self-publish, because you get these people who just get 50 blog posts and then publish it on Kindle. That does not make you an author. You need to hit the same standards as big publishing firms. And I'm going to show you an easy way for you to do that. And you're also going to discover, I know this sounds impossible, but you're going to discover how to write 1,000 words in an hour. The average business book is around 30 to 50,000 words. So my arithmetic isn't very good, but even I can work that out. You're looking around about 30 to 50 hours worth of concentrated effort. That's actually all you need to write a book, as long as you do it my way. Now, there's actually 5 steps. But I only had 20 minutes. Mark wouldn't let me have any more than 20 minutes. So I thought about doing like many of the 5 steps, like doing almost like helicopter drops, and it just didn't work. I just felt like all I'd be doing is just teasing you guys with the information, not really giving anything. And then it becomes one of those annoying webinars where it's just a massive sales pitch, but you don't actually get any value. So I've whittled it down to 3 steps, but there are 5 steps in this. So you can get the full 5 steps if you just go to thefreedommasterplan.com/5 steps. It goes to the other 2 steps I can't cover today, and also goes into everything in a lot more detail. This is like about 2-hour masterclass in that PDF that I certainly, Mark will kill me if I actually took 2 hours to get through my presentation today. So go there. It means you can get everything that you learned today, plus a lot more. Okay, so for those who don't know me, a little bit about me. I'm a former freelance journalist. I'm a copywriter and a ghostwriter. I've been copywriting and ghostwriting since 2013. I'm now a vegan book coach and publisher. That happened only in the last year. I realized in 2016, I wrote my first book. It took me nearly 15 months to write. By the time I wrote my 7th book, it took me 6 weeks. Not because it was the same subject or anything like that, completely different subjects, but I realized I'd condensed everything down to a specific structure. So then I realized if I showed people that structure, they can write their own books. I can help exponentially more people. So I shifted. I'm not going to use that P word that we all use in 2020, which I hate. I shifted from being a ghostwriter and a copywriter to becoming a book coach and a publisher. As I said, I've ghostwritten 7 nonfiction books. They've generated $5 million. Actually, that's a lie. It's about 6.5, 7 million now. I realize those are 2020 numbers. It's gone up since then, but it's definitely more than $5 million in business revenue. I've got my own best-selling book now, The Freedom Master Plan. That's generated me for $41,500. Again, that was in April. I need to update these slides. I've got 2 programs. I've got a 90-day program, which is an intensive program. The whole point of that program is within 3 months, you're a published author, both electronically and on paperback. And then I have a more gentler, self-paced DIY book program, which is a video step-by-step program that goes through exactly how to research, plan, write, and edit your book. And what really matters is I've been a proud vegan since 2012 to 2013. I can't give you an exact date. I just remember it was wintertime, it was snowing. I don't know what, something broke inside of me. And I just said, I'm done. And it was the easiest decision I ever made. Never looked back, was just not interested in having any animal products in my life. So I'm a very proud mom to Isha. Let me explain the word mom for people who don't know. Mom is what Geordies call their mums. We never use you in mums, and they're not our moms ever. They are our moms. I'm proud mom to Isha. You may notice she doesn't have any whiskers. She is a cancer survivor. She survived it twice now. She's only got half a right lung and only half her nipples on one side, but she's still bouncing around like a kitten and loving life at the moment. Rescue is my favorite breed. It's something I'm very passionate about. I've even come to blows, not physical, but verbal blows, even with other vegans who believe that breeding is okay. I do believe that even if you're a responsible breeder, you're creating a world that thinks of animals as things that can be bought and then disposed of. So I truly believe you should never be able to buy a life. You should always just rescue. My dream is to die in a vegan world where veganism is normal and carnism is consigned to history books. I think that's definitely going to happen. I only found out very recently, one of my authors is a financial consultant writing a book on women's financial history. And I didn't know that up until 1991, rape was legal in marriage. So, but now I would be horrified at the idea that if you're married to someone, they could just take you whenever they want. In the same way, I don't think we're that far off from a world where veganism is normal and eating and using animal products is just this weird thing that people in the past do. And my life's mission is to be the vegan authority creator. I want to help as many vegan business leaders and entrepreneurs become professionally published authors, because then I raise their visibility, which means my dream can come true. So why should I write a book? Or should I say, why should you guys write a book? Because most people I meet, in fact, I'll be honest with you, I meet more people who say they don't want to write a book than do want to write a book. Nearly everyone wants to write a book. But the reason why a lot of entrepreneurs don't is they're already stretched for time and they're just thinking, is it worth my time? What will happen to me if I do write a book? Does it make sense for me to spend the time, money, and effort in writing a book? So these are the things that have happened to my clients when they've written a book. First of all, their visibility goes to the roof. It doesn't matter what you're doing. Maybe you're doing social media, maybe you're blogging, maybe you do podcasts, maybe you want to get onto stages, maybe you want to do virtual summits. It doesn't matter what you want to do for visibility. As soon as you become an author, it goes to the roof, whatever it is you're doing. I gave myself a challenge in April this year. I wanted to be on 100 podcasts by the end of the year. I've completed 47 already. Now, I'd love to just pat myself on the back and say that's just me and my hard work. But the thing is, I'm leading with the fact that I'm an author of a best-selling book. Trust me, I'm amazed how many podcast hosts just go, yeah, sure, you can come on, because they just see it as a shorthand to this person must know what they're talking about. This also leads into authority. You can be seen as an expert within your field when you become a published author. If you think about it, all your competitors have websites, blog posts, social media, business cards, all those paraphernalia that everybody has. But how many of your competitors are published authors? I bet not many, if all. It allows you to attract the perfect clients. If you think about it, your book is your most complete message of who you are and what you represent in the world and the kind of people you want to work with, much more so than a blog post or a social media post. I find that people who come into my business after they read my book, they're my perfect book clients. In fact, I'm getting to the stage now where I refuse to take people on unless they've read my book first. Because before, in the past, I've had some nightmare clients who didn't really know what I was about. This is a huge one. It gets rid of sales. It gets rid of, I'm missing an S. I knew that when I tripped there, I'd missed something. Gets rid of sales anxiety. I need to change this slide. So one of my things is I can talk the hind leg of a donkey, as you can tell. However, when it comes to sales talk, I start sweating. I'm terrible at sales, okay? What I found there is when people read my book, all my sales anxiety goes away because they come with the book wanting questions, answered from the book. So it's a case of dotting the I's and crossing the T's for me. The sales process is so much smoother when someone has read my book, and it can happen for you as well. You can increase your fees, usually around 5 to 10 times from what I've seen of my clients. Again, this goes back to authority and visibility. When people see you everywhere and they see you as an expert and not on the same playing field as your competitors, it means they're more willing to pay you more. And it means you can ask for more money for the same things that you're doing right now. And it also allows you to build passive income streams. This is a big one. Most of us are service providers, which means even if we're charging a lot of money, if we stop working, we stop earning. That's a very, very scary thought. Once you have a book out there, you'll find based on the book, you start creating things like subscription programs, video programs. There's so many different ideas that you can create from your book that allows you to build passive income streams that don't dry up when you stop working. So let's move on to the steps. The first one is how to never get writer's block or get lost inside your book. And the simple answer is create a mind map for your book. Okay. Now, the best software, the one that I use completely free, is www.mind42.com. Now, just to give you an idea what I mean by mind map, what you see in front of your screen right now is not the mind map for a book. That is a mind map for a chapter. Okay, that is a level that you need to be mind mapping your book at. A lot of people think that if they just got the topic of the books and they got a vague idea of the topics of their chapters, then they can start writing. This is the first class way of getting writer's block, or just writing and writing and writing and getting lost inside your book, and it's all unwieldy and it doesn't make sense. Before you've even written a single word, you need to mind map every single thing that's going to go into every single chapter. So if you look at the screen right now, you can see that is just a chapter mind map. Look at exactly how I've gone through that. This, by the way, is in that PDF that I told you about in the beginning. Each chapter needs to be mind mapped to this level. When you do it at this level, trust me, you cannot get lost inside your book. You can't get writer's block because you literally can see on your mind map what you need to write, what you've already written, and where you need to go. You're never going to lose your train of thought, okay? Just to give you an idea, the average mind map, you're looking at around 350 to 400 plus points should be on the mind map. Anything under 300, if you were one of my students, I wouldn't even allow you to write your book. I would say go back and think more because there's more stuff that needs to go into this book, okay? That is a level you need to mind map your book at. Think of your mind map as a maze. Okay, so I want you to think of your book and as if you're hovering over the book, like you're hovering over this maze. If I gave you a few minutes, I bet every single one of you will be able to tell me how to get into that maze, how to get out of it. However, if you're inside the maze, there's absolutely no way you would be able to do that. Now, okay, that's part of the fun of being a maze. There's nothing worse than being in a maze. It's easy to crack. It's fun getting lost inside a maze, but trust me, it's not fun getting lost inside your book. I have spoken to people who've been writing books for years. I met one guy who's written 70,000 words. That's 2 books, and it's still not a book yet. Don't get lost inside your book. Mind map your book out first thoroughly before you even write a single word. The second step, how to make your book feel professional and not homemade. This is a big one, okay? There's huge companies like Penguin Random House, Macmillan, Simon & Schuster. They've adhered to certain standards for decades. I'm just thinking Penguin opened in 1931, so we're close to a century now of Penguin being around. So they have certain standards. Let me give you an idea of certain standards. The copyright page, for example, should always be on the left-hand side. It should never be on the right-hand side. If it's on the right-hand side, straight away, dead giveaway, amateur. Or did you know if the final number of pages you've got is an odd number, you need to leave 2 pages blank at the end of your manuscript. If the final page number is even, you only leave 1 page blank. Look, don't shoot the messenger here. I don't know why these rules are made. They just are. But the thing is, when your book doesn't hit the same standards that the major publishing firms use, then straight away you're marked out as an amateur, and that's not what you want to do. So there's a very simple answer. Just use a book template. You can actually buy book templates like the one you can see on the screen. They usually cost anything to around $50 to $100 or around about that in pounds. It doesn't cost a lot of money. And the wonderful thing is it's all there. It's in the right place. So things that are meant to be on the left-hand side, they're on the left-hand side. Things that are meant to be on the right-hand side, they're on the right-hand side. The bibliography is laid out exactly how a bibliography should be laid out. Everything is in there. All the stuff that we call it front matter and back matter in the publishing industry Everything is laid out in there. All you need to go in there is just tweak bits to fit you and then just put in your text, and that's it. Now, like I said, these book templates usually cost around £50 to £100. However, I do make an exception for vegan and ethical entrepreneurs. If you're interested in writing a book, just email me. It's Mitali at letstellyourstory.com, or find me on any of the social media platforms. I'm always Mitali Book Pro wherever you go. Send me a message and I will send you this template for free. The only thing I ask is please do not put it online, and please do not give it to anybody. It's just specifically for you. I do sell this. I think I don't push this. So I think I only get one sale a month, but I do charge $97 for it because it took me a lot of time and effort to create it. So don't put it online and don't give it away to others for free. It is specifically just for you guys. The third step, this is the big one, how to write 1,000 words in an hour. I've already given you half of this. I've already given you 50% of this. One of the major reasons that people think, oh, there's no way I can write 1,000 words in an hour. It's not that they're thinking about the writing. It's the planning they're included. So for example, if I gave you a challenge now and I said, I want you to go away and you've got an hour. This is the topic. I'm just going to literally give you a topic. I want you to go away and research it and write a 1,000-word blog post in an hour. I bet most of you will go, unless some of you got a journalist background, you'll go, there's no way I'm going to be able to do that. By the time I've researched it, then created a structure in my mind, a beginning, middle, and I can't do that in an hour, Mitali. You've got to give me longer than that. However, if I literally gave you step by step what needs to go into your blog post, do you think you can write 1,000 words in an hour? Of course you can. You're just needing to expand on it and just turn it into a blog post. Or if I just literally give you 1,000 words and say, can you just type this up in an hour? Chances are most of you will say, that'll take me about 15, 20 minutes. It won't even take me an hour. When you have a mind map, that's exactly what's happening. So half of the answer here is in step one. When you mind map your book out, my students actually just look at their mind map and they just start going, yeah, this is where I need to be. This is what I've already written. And then they just do it. There's no thinking, because if the thinking was done in a previous step, and that is why they can complete 1,000 words an hour, which means if you do the maths, a 30 to 50,000 word book, you're looking at 30 to 50 hours. That's all it is. And people wonder why my students finish a book in 6 weeks. It's very, very easy to finish a book in 6 weeks when you plan it first and then you write. But the second step of writing 1,000 words in an hour is don't write your book, dictate it. So this is a huge thing. I use a wonderful service called Otter. I don't know if how many of you guys know it. There are other services. I don't want you to think that this is the only service out there, but it's the only one I use simply because I've been using it since 2017. I dictated my whole book. It's 38,000 words. In October, I dictated it on Otter. All my students dictate their books on Otter. And again, just think about it. The average person types around about 40 words per minute, but you'll speak at 200 to 250 words per minute. So that's 5 to 6 times faster than writing or typing. So there's a speed that you get out as well. There's another key thing, another thing that really slows people down. When you're typing or you're handwriting, you can actually see the words forming on the page. Now, I'm telling you, I used to be a cigarette smoker, and it's still something I struggle with. I now smoke electronic cigarettes. Trust me when I say this, is even harder to stop yourself from editing your words than it is to give up cigarette smoking. It really is. When you see the words in front of you, you just go, oh, let me just type. Oh, no, this is what I meant. Oh, you know what? This word's more powerful. Oh, yeah, I'll just say this because this makes me sound more clever or more knowledgeable. You just keep going back and you keep editing your words. Again, that is a separate step that needs to be done after. When you dictate your words, you can't see the words. You just record it and it's gone off to be transcribed. And the wonderful thing is when you're talking to a friend, or even while I'm talking now, I'm not editing my words because I can't see them. All I'm doing is I'm just making sure that you guys understand what I'm saying. Are you all understanding what I'm saying? Well, there we go. That's good enough. I'm not going to beat myself up, but we do beat ourselves up when we're typing or we're handwriting. So instead, dictate your book out. And then when you've got all your transcripts together, that's the time to comb through everything. That's the time to go in and go, oh, I can make myself sound better here, or this is a better word, or whatever you want to do. That's the time to do it. But separate those things out, The key thing I want you to get from this presentation is the reason why people fail at writing books, or if they do write a book and they never publish it because it's a mess, is because they're planning, writing, and editing all three at the same time. Does anybody here remember Wash and Go? Or am I the really old person that only remembers Wash and Go shampoo? Do you remember that? And it was huge for about 2 years, and then it disappeared. The reason why it disappeared, because it was crap. It didn't do anything for your hair. It didn't wash it properly and didn't condition it properly, because it's 2 steps that shouldn't be put together. Think of writing and editing like Wash and Go. No one buys it anymore. You never see it on the shelves anymore because it doesn't work. In the same way, writing and editing your book at the same time. In fact, should I say planning, writing, and editing your book, it does not work. Separate the 3 steps out completely, and then you'll be able to watch your book just fly out of you in double quick time. So the next thing I want to say is I've just gone through very, very quickly. I talk fast because I'm a Geordie, but that was even fast for me. But writing a book is just half the equation. It really, really is. I've always said someone who writes a mediocre book but knows how to leverage it well will go much further than someone who's written the best book in the world but doesn't know how to leverage it or can't be bothered to leverage it. Leverage is the key. Okay, just writing an amazing book is not going to get you anywhere. Just to give you an idea, I was given a statistic a few weeks ago, around 3,000 books a day are published on Amazon worldwide. So you sticking even the best books since whatever, no one's going to care. You need to go out and leverage your book. That is a topic of my own book, The Freedom Master Plan. So if you're interested in learning how to leverage a business book, go to thefreedommasterplan.com. You can download the first chapter for free. And then if you like it, just go and get it on Amazon. What I did was I interviewed 7 of my previous clients who all have these amazing books. But more importantly than that, they went out and leveraged the hell out of their books. And I asked them to give me all of their tips, all of their secrets, all of their strategies, and I put them into this book. And the great thing is, if you're already an author, but you've never really leveraged your book, the Freedom Master Plan will show you all the strategies you'll ever need to do so. And if you haven't written a book, it's a good idea to get an end game in plan. You know, a lot of people don't know what they'll do with a book. Once you have a plan of what you're going to do with your book, chances are you're now far more motivated to write your book because you know exactly what you're going to be able to do with it. And as I said, because I've been talking at breakneck speed, I've had to miss out 2 steps. And even the 3 steps that I've covered, I've only covered about 30% of it. So the full information, if you just want to get this PDF, it's thefreedommasterplan.com/5 steps. Go and download it, and it'll go through everything step by step. How to, apart from the 3 steps I've talked about today, it'll also go through how to research your book topic. That's very important. I've had students come to me with what they thought was the best idea ever, and it wasn't the best idea ever once they researched it. Imagine how much time, money, and effort they would have wasted if they published a book that no one wanted to read. So it'll show you how to research your book idea, and I'll also show you how to publish and promote your book. And I want to leave you with one of my favorite quotes, because people get really worried about writing a book. They kind of see it as a massive mountain that they just can't climb. It's from a famous journalist called Helen Rowland. You'll never win if you never begin. So stop procrastinating and just begin. Thank you for having me. If you got any questions, I'm ready for them now.
That was brilliant. Thank you, Mitali. Fantastic advice in there. And a great offer with your template as well. Thank you. Who's got any questions then for Mitali? I'm sure we must have some from that. Anyone?
I've
anyone
stunned them into silence.
When can we start? You make it sound so easy. That's really good. That look at it, break it down step by step.
Yeah, it's not, I mean, I'll be honest with you, Janet, it's not a walk in the park. So I don't want to be like, oh yes, you know, because there's something that's, I saw a sales page over the weekend, book in 24 hours. And I just laughed. I was like, I'm sorry, there's no way, not a professionally published book. You can't do that in 24 hours. So it's not a walk in the park. Otherwise everyone would be doing it. But it's a lot easier than people think. People make it hard for themselves because they are planning and writing and editing at the same time. And when you separate those steps out, they just become more manageable. Yeah, you know?
Yeah, I think that's massively good advice. I think
Oh,
sit
Lisa's
there all
got
the time.
a question. She's got, what size of the book that you recommend the most? I would say for these kinds of books, so the kind of books I do are, how to self-help guides, business type style books. The most popular one tends to be 9 inches by 6 inches. The next popular is 8.5 by 5.5. Mine is, just to give you an idea, so mine is 9 by 6, and then this is 8.5 by, so just to give you, then it's not a huge amount of difference. Don't know if you can see. It's not a huge amount of difference, but those tend to be the best sizes. Definitely they're the cheapest to print as well. And remember, that's a key thing. I talked about leverage. You want your book to be easily available to people. You don't want to be selling it the highest amount of money. You want as many people of your target audience to read it. So you want something, for example, if you've got a hot lead, you want to be able to print it out and send that person a free copy, so you want something that looks professional, but at the same time is a size that is easy to print. So I wouldn't be going for any weird, strange ones that are, going to cost you a lot to print. Does that answer your question? I think that was
yes, thank you, Mitali. Yeah, that was very useful. Thanks.
Do you write a physical first and a Kindle? Well, if it's the same book, Shabari, then no, because you're writing at the same time. It's a manuscript, okay? So what my students do is they write a manuscript. They write it directly into that Word template that you saw. They actually write directly into that Word template, which then keeps them, they don't mess around with the front and the back matter, and they don't go off on a tangent, and they stick to it. The wonderful thing about the book template is it's already in 9 by 6 as well. So that again helps. There's nothing wrong with writing on just normal Word or Google Docs and A4. But what tends to happen is people then start wanting to add images in, and then they're putting it in for an A4 size. But I'm like, yeah, but that's not going to look the same on your page. So when you work within a template, although that's not going to be obviously a wonderful typesetter, someone like Kaylee is going to make it look beautiful, but it helps her to know where you wanted things to be. And when you stick her on an A4 sheet, she's like, okay, that quote, is that meant to be next to that paragraph? It just makes it difficult. So the template works really well. But to answer your question, Shabara, you write at the same time because it goes into a manuscript. Once it gets to someone like Kaylee takes over, who's a typesetter, then what typesetters generally tend to do is they create the paperback version first, and then they do something called formatting, which means it gets formatted for Kindle. But you don't write separately. You write one manuscript, and that goes into paperback and Kindle. Does that answer your question, Shabari?
Yeah, thanks. I was just, because I have a published research paper which I had written. It was based on my dissertation, and I know how to write. I've written, I think I mentioned this to you before, I have written 100,000 words, but it didn't take me 6 months.
You're writing War and Peace there.
It took me a year and a half. It took me a year and a half, and it was yeah, I mean, it was for my master's degree thesis, but it was more like an MPhil, almost a PhD, not quite a PhD, but almost. So I do know how to write. I know how to write, but it took me a long time. It took me a year and a half to actually write my to research my dissertation and to write it. And then I think I also mentioned to you that I put together a book proposal about my dissertation, and I sent it off to various different publishers, and I did it in the correct way, as you do with a book proposal, breaking it all down, and then write down who your target audience is, and then you put together sample chapters and what each chapter is, etc., and then how I would market the book. So I put all that together, sent it off. This was years and years ago, and I'd sent it off to various different publishers, and only one of them really gave me some useful feedback, and that was just one chapter in the book proposal that they were interested in. But then I would have had to have done a whole new book proposal. So what I decided to do was I wrote a research paper, which was, I don't know how many words, but it was 41 pages, which was a lot larger than what they would normally accept. And it was accepted by Business and Society Review. So they accepted my, I had to print it all out, send the whole manuscript to America, and they would do the proofreading and the typesetting, all of that. But I had to give them copyright for it. You know, it was in exchange for that, and that's what you know, these traditional journals do. You know, there was no other way.
Well, the thing is, they're paying for it. You've got to think of traditional publishers as almost like a bank. A bank wouldn't give you a mortgage unless they feel you can pay them back. Otherwise, they're not going to buy a house for you. What's in it for them? So it's the same thing with a traditional publisher. I mean, they're wonderful, you know, and I have several friends in traditional publishers. You know, they are wonderful. You just got to remember, though, that for them to pay all that money out, they need to make sure that they can get their return on investment from your book. So, and that's why I help my students self-publish. The reason why is you might end up becoming at odds with your publisher regarding what you want for the book, because you've now got two people in the mix, and you've got two people's ideas of what is going to be a good marketable book. And that's why I self-publish, because I don't want, this is going to sound a bit, you know, selfish, but I don't want anybody else in my business. It's my business. I know what's best for it. And I know what I want to say in my book. And I don't want somebody else telling me, oh, what do you think this will be? No, it's my business. I'll decide what's good for my business. But traditional publishers do work. You just got to be aware of the fact that because they are essentially loaning you money to get all those professional services, you do have to, you know, when they say jump, you have to say how high. It's just how it is.
Can I jump in on this one as well? I don't know if any of you know Jackie from Vegan for the Animals. So she had an issue with they created a vegan cookbook, and they went through a publisher, or the publisher actually proposed it to them, and they went forward with it. But the publisher isn't a vegan publisher, so in the end they didn't really know how to promote this book to a vegan audience. So publishers can be great because, yes, they can get the book to market, but you also have to be really conscious of, is that publisher comfortable with your target audience, and are they actually going to be able to get you in front of your target audience? And sometimes, as Jackie found, you know, with their book, they weren't. And Jackie and Gavin, I can't remember, they actually sold more of their own books themselves in a day than their publishers had in, I think it was a year. So sometimes, even from, you know, a marketing perspective, going with a publisher isn't the best thing, because, like Mitali, you've just said, you know your audience, you know what you want and who you get your book out to, and sometimes you're better placed to do that than a publisher is. So you have to sort of think about that as well.
Thanks for that, Kate. That's so true. That's one of the key reasons why I wrote my book, because my book was all about how you leverage your own book. And it's so important. There's a lot of people who do, like you said, Kaylee, there's a lot of people who believe, well, if I get picked up by a traditional publisher, then I won't have to do the marketing myself. They'll do it for me. That does work to a certain extent if you're writing fiction, or if you want to do children's books or that kind of thing. But when you're writing a book to raise your and your brand's visibility and authority, you know your audience better than any publisher will. And you'll even find that some publishers won't even publish you unless you can prove to them you already have a sizable audience. So if you say, hey, I've got 10,000 followers on Instagram, or I've got, you know, this huge Facebook group, then they'll go, oh, yes, we'll do that. But then I would argue the fact, well, why would you bother then? You're kind of just getting a loan from them, really. If you can afford it, self-publish, and then you don't have to dance to anyone else's tune. It's your book completely, and you can do whatever you like with it. So yeah, traditional publishers definitely have their place. I'm not going to badmouth them because I've got several friends in them. They'll kill me if I do. They are really good. But it's understanding what their purpose. And when it comes to the kinds of books that I help people with, which is to raise the visibility of their business and their brand, it just makes no sense. Would you want somebody else to have a say on your website? Probably not. You'd be like, it's my goddamn website. I'll do what I want with it. You know, that's how I feel about my book. If I suddenly decide I want to have a green cover on this, I'll just suddenly decide I want to change my cover. If it was with a traditional publisher, they may say, no, we like this cover and we're not going to have you change it to another cover or create a second edition, or you have to ask permission to do everything with them. Whereas when you self-publish, it's your book. I just want to answer one more thing. I think who asked me something as well. Jane, do you think paperback or Kindle are the best format? This is really interesting, Jane. Before I published, I thought Kindle absolutely has taken over the world. Everyone loves Kindle. And it is true. I would say about 85 to 90% of my book sales are Kindle, the rest are paperback. However, what I'm finding is the Kindle fuels the paperback. People get the Kindle to see if they like it. And if they like it, then they go and buy the paperback. So it's not an either or. It seems to be, it's almost like, you know, when people stream music, they like stream it. And if they like it, then they go and buy it. So that's what's happening. So I found it's not a competition between the two. People are reading a lot more on Kindle, but the ones that they really like, then they want it in their library, want to stick it on the shelves, they then go and get the paperback version.
That's interesting.
That's really interesting.
Mm.
Sam also asked how people can get your help to write their books. So we'll give you a chance to answer that, and then we're probably almost out of time. But
well, just get in touch with me. I do have 2 programs. It's a case of working out which one is best. The first step, though, I would say is before you even think about programs, or I'm probably doing myself a disservice here. I should be like, yes, come to my program, spend loads of money with me. I'm trying to be honest and not, be a real person and not be pitchy. The best thing you can do is, first of all, go and get that 5 steps guide, because that really does go through. I've even had some people say you shouldn't be giving away so much information for free. Like that should be in your program. But the way I see it is the people who want the help will come and pay for it anyway. But the people who can't afford it, I still want to help them, So that's why I put everything into that 5 steps guide. So what I would do is read that 5 steps guide. That will give you a definite understanding of how you should plan a book out. And you can do it yourself from that 5 steps guide. And the other thing is go and read the book. Because like I said, a mediocre book that's leveraged well will do a lot better for you than the best books in sliced bread, but you don't know how to leverage it. Once you've read those 2 things, then have a think about it. And if you think you need more support, get in touch with me and we can talk. But I think you need to go through those two pieces of content first.
Yeah, really good. Really
excellent.
good.
Thank you, Mitali. Really good talk. Really
good.
you can see from the number of questions, lots of interest as well. So excellent.
Thanks, guys.
And I may or may not have just purchased a copy of your book.
Yay.
So, right, just really quickly before we wrap up, I'm going to just stop the recording, and there's just a couple of bits of housekeeping.